Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. What a glorious, glorious Sunday. El Clasico this evening, absolutely buzzing. As you can probably see, we've got a special guest. It's Soccer AM's very own Alex. Welcome to the show, Alex. And as usual, Chris Hamill joins us. Unfortunate, I know. You guys have been sending your questions all week. We're about to provide some very adequate answers. I hope so, anyway. I really do hope so.
Average, borderline.
The first one comes from Fahir Zakim Zayn.
Good effort.
Good effort. That was definitely wrong. He says, which player at any club deserves more playing time this season? Great question for here. Christopher Hamill, lead the charge, like Julius Caesar.
Righty-ho. Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? There's some outstanding candidates out there.
Is.
The first one who springs to mind, maybe Isco, Real Madrid.
Oh, good shout. What a player.
Good shout.
I mean, having watched him in the last couple of weeks against Real Sociedad, where he grabbed the couple, went on some amazing runs in Bayern Munich, obviously hauled off in about the 75th minute, but what an incredible talent he is. He reminds me so much of David Silva, taking the words out of my mouth, jumping in there, stealing my answers.
Sorry.
But, I mean, he's only made 15 starts this season for a guy of his calibre.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, he's sharing a midfield with the likes of Modric, Toni Kroos and Casemiro, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it's understandable as to why not, but if he's not going to get game time next season, he should move on. He's 26 now, he's so talented.
Get off it.
I mean, what's he got in those 15 starts? I think he's got
9 goals, 5 assists he's got, Chris.
That is what I wrote down. I was going to have a little crafty look at my piece of paper on the floor, but 9 goals, 5 assists. Incredible scenes, mate.
Yeah,
So,
he's not the only Real Madrid player though, is he? James, and you want to talk a little bit about James?
Yeah, I was going to say James Rodriguez, an absolutely wonderful player, and again, not really getting enough playing time at Real Madrid.
Why do you think it is? Not a Zidane boy?
I just don't think Zidane fancies him, to be honest. He came in for massive money, and obviously Zidane's coming after, and probably doesn't fancy him. He's only had 9 starts this season, clearly not enough, and he's probably going to move on.
How much did he join for? Like 60 odd mil, wasn't it?
65.
If he was going to stamp his authority on the side, it would have been this season in Bale's absence. Bale's only played 15, 16 games. He's got, he's still scored 7 goals, so he's still been very good.
You could
when
argue
he's come back.
Asensio has sort of almost taken his.
Yeah, I mean, Vasquez, I think he's too old now. I don't think he's going to make the breakthrough. I don't think he's good enough for Real Madrid. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's going to make it at the Los Blancos. But yeah, Asensio. Talk to me about Asensio.
There's a few other names I'm immediately springing to mind. I'm looking at that Bayern team and I'm thinking Kingsley Coman and Douglas Costa aren't getting enough game time.
Costa, I agree with.
Incredibly talented players. Not getting the game time they potentially should do. I'm looking at Krykowiak at PSG this season.
He's not
barely had a
near enough.
sniff.
Big money
and
as well.
He came in for big money. He also followed Unai Emery. So Unai Emery obviously fancies Matuidi, Verratti, Rabiot ahead of him. So
as you would expect.
Maybe Krykowiak might get a move this summer. I'd also say some players at Manchester United, i.e. Martial, hasn't had enough game time for me.
Yeah,
he's gone backwards this season. He was United's focal point last season.
Got me fuck all points on my draft fantasy.
He was an absolute beast last season. Let's not forget that FA Cup semi-final performance against Everton where he looked like a world beater. This season for me he's gone backwards. I think there's a lot of names out there that deserve a lot more game time than they're not getting at the moment. So hopefully they get it next season. But who do you think deserves more game time? Why don't you let us know down in that comment box? Start typing. Do it now. Alex Thomas has the next question. He says, which manager has failed to live up to the hype this season? Now, there have been some big appointments. Alex, who are you going to say?
I'm going to go a bit left field, to be honest. You think I'm going to say Pep, you think I'm going to say Mourinho, but I'm going to go for a man who's bottom of the table right now with the worst team in the Premier League, Mr. David Moyes. He didn't have much hype when he came in, but I thought he was the right man for Sunderland.
Moses like himself.
I thought he was going to at least get Sunderland to mid-table, and you look at him now, and he's bottom of the league. Every single game, he's just in his chair, slumped, doesn't look like he fancies it. And he's obviously going to get Sunderland relegated.
Outrageous shouts in the press, hasn't he? About, backing them to go down, saying the owners haven't given him enough money to keep them up, and that was, 3-4 months ago. He seemed consigned to defeat. I agree.
Can you imagine playing for a manager?
Onwards.
You play for a manager who goes into a game expecting to lose.
Yeah.
You go into half time, a goal down, you're trying to get motivated.
Yeah. Some of the stuff he did at Everton was miracles, and then since then, it's all gone wrong for me. He seems to have, my biggest problem was he seems to have lost all his confidence. I think Man United absolutely crippled the guy, honestly, both mentally and physically, and he just not got that buzz anymore.
He was poor at Real Sociedad as well, and he spent a lot of money at Real Sociedad actually. He brought Illarramendi back to the team, and they were near the foot of the table when he left them, and they managed to stay up. So
I'm going to go for a slightly different style. There's only one manager that I could clearly see this season that is an utter failure, is Unai Emery. He came in from Sevilla. He had bossed the Europa League with Sevilla, I think it's fair to say. He didn't do the best stuff in the league with Sevilla, but in Europe you're kind of thinking, time to take the next step now. Champions League, PSG, big bucks, bought in Krajkoviak, bought in all his backroom staff. I was expecting, you know what, another league title easy in the bag for PSG, push it to a semi-final, we'll see how far we can take it. Well, they're not out of the league title race. Monaco are in first. They're in a semi-final of the Cup against Monaco. That's an absolute must-win for Unai Emery.
They've won a cup final as well.
They've won a cup final and they're already out of the Champions League. The Champions League was the biggest hole for me. If he'd have seen off Barcelona, he was 10 minutes away from having a decent season.
Very true. I was just about to say that to you. That the outlook on his performance was very dependent on that one game, though, because if he makes it to the quarters, to the semi, then it looks like PSG 100%. Progressing. I mean, it's not been great on the domestic front.
Domestically is where it's maybe the most trouble.
Allowing Nice.
I think that when you're being battled against Nice with Balotelli leading the line, you've got to do better.
Favre's done a great job with them, though.
He started really poorly by not signing a Zlatan replacement. I know Cavani has killed it this season, but Cavani killed it last season as well, and they had the 50 goals from Zlatan. I personally think Cavani needed support up front. I don't think they've got nearly enough goals. He brought in Ben Arfa. Ben Arfa's been an absolute failure of a signing. Krajkoviak's been an absolute failure of a signing.
I mean, he had a few players that started off the season really slowly as well, didn't he? Di Maria didn't score in his first... He got one in his first 10, 15 appearances. He's come good now. Verratti's looking good. Rabiot. I mean, I think they may edge the league title, but...
I mean, was it a...
I see where you're coming from.
It was also a bad decision, in my opinion, to sell David Luiz. Do PSG really need that money back?
Especially for a loss as well.
PSG need 30 million euros, take a 20 million euro loss on a centre-back that has now been announced in the PFA Team of the Year for Chelsea and is going to win a Premier League title. Yeah. I just don't really understand his transfer dealings. I think domestically he's been bang average, out of Europe early, and if he doesn't win the Coupe de France, he's had an absolute nightmare in my opinion. He could well go in the summer if he doesn't win a trophy.
I have to agree with it, to be honest.
What about your hands?
I mean, you alluded to Pep and Jose earlier. I think both got win percentages of over 60%. Jose's been extremely unlucky. I think Manchester United have been converting 1.5% of their chances this season when the average is 3. So they've been underperforming on the pitch. Not necessarily his fault. You know, Zlatan's missed some gilt-edged chances despite being top goal scorer. Pep, it's a transitional team. I think he's had a fine first season. Let's not pretend they're not going to be huge challenges next season.
When
he's bedded in bedded in the likes of Sane extremely well. Sterling looked rejuvenated at the start of the season.
Jesus next year.
I mean, companies, if he can stay fit from now until the end of the season, that will solidify their attempt to, finish third, fourth. But I think maybe a bloke we've discussed over on EFD quite a lot, Roger Schmidt. Released from Leverkusen halfway through the season. This was supposed to be the season that Bayer Leverkusen kicked on. He finished third in the Champions League positions prior to that. They've got the likes of Jonathan Tah, Kevin Campbell, Chicharito, Benny Henrichs in the squad, Çalhanoğlu. That is a hugely talented pool of players. This was supposed to be the year they took it to the next level and they completely bottled it.
They did. It was all over the place.
And now this hot property, he was touted as a future Arsenal boss, is a free agent.
But do you think that's partly down to the improving quality of German football? You've got RB Leipzig coming back up. Dortmund are even struggling this year, and I wouldn't say that Thomas Tuchel's necessarily... He's not having a great season, but I wouldn't write him off. I think it's partly down to the improving quality. You mean, look at Hoffenheim, right up there now. RB Leipzig, right up there.
But I think Frankfurt are maybe 5th, 6th in the league with a -11 goal difference. I'm not sure if that's changed in the last couple of weeks. So, not necessarily. I think it was their home record that really let them down. I think some of the players massively underperformed as well. I don't think Dragovic was a particularly good transfer either. Yeah. Their defence was really, really poor. It's shored up a little bit now, but that would be my answer, mate.
Roger Schmidt. So what would you go for? Would you go for Unai? Would you go for Roger? Or would you go for David Moyes?
I'm sorry to say,
it's Moyes there. Vote the poll as well. Jolly Porkinson, that's been auto-corrected, has the next question. He tweeted into Christopher Hamill saying, what is the best individual performance you've seen in El Clasico? Chris Hamill, you're going to say Ronaldinho, aren't you? So you might as well talk it through.
I think we're all decided that it's Ronaldinho at the Bernabeu when he was clapped off, played a huge role in that 2-0 victory. I think he scored both goals, no?
He definitely scored an absolute screamer.
Yeah, I can't remember. He waltzed past about 3 players down that
Absolute
left-hand
magician.
side, yeah, and dinked it over the oncoming Casillas. But I think a more interesting question is, who could be a surprise package in the next El Clasico?
Tonight's El Clasico.
We talked tonight's. I
We
mean,
shoot this on a Thursday, but
we talked about Asensio earlier. You obviously, we talked about Modric.
Isco.
Toni Kroos is obviously vital. Isco, yes, a great shout. So what do you boys think? I've talked.
I think Asensio is a great shout. I think Asensio is an absolute game changer. I don't think Madrid need to go out and sign a forward. I think that's how good Asensio is. The talk about Griezmann, Dybal's obviously locked down until 2022. Now Hazard as well. Perez is always going to want Galactico signing because that makes commercial sense. But for me, Asensio is the full package.
His goal against Bayern Munich, unbelievable.
He picks up in his own half. I mean, Mats Hummels is still spinning now. I think is that one of them tops used to do ping like that. He does a 5-metre turning circle to try and catch him up. He's an incredible player, Asensio. I personally think Isco could be a little surprise package as well. I fancy Isco to run that midfield all over the place. I think Barcelona's midfield aging mediocre.
Yeah, and the defence as well. They've been playing 3 at the back recently, and they've looked a little bit ragged. I mean, what do you think, pal?
I would say Isco, to be honest. Just the fact he's on form. He's one of the most on-form Real Madrid players at the moment. He scored 2 in his last game, and he's just absolutely firing on all cylinders at the moment. He's getting that Real Madrid team playing well on transition, going forward, and then linking up with the likes of Ronaldo and everyone else.
It's surprising that nobody said a Barca name. Because you kind of think, you look at that Barca team, you think, could Andre Gomez step up and dominate a game? And
No.
I clinically think no. It's the same. Could Denis Suarez be this? No. Could Paco Alcácer be? No. And that kind of really worries me in the long term for Barcelona.
Yeah, they had a clear strategy in terms of recruitment for the summer just gone. Sign young players and bed them in. I mean, Paco, who you just mentioned, has been abysmal when given the chance in the league. I think he's only scored 1 goal in the league, which has meant Suarez has had to play every game effectively. Yeah. It's not given him much of a rest. Denis Suarez hasn't got a sniff. Alexis Vidal was played well early in 2017 and then suffered that horrendous injury. So they've actually not replaced Dani Alves still down that right-hand side, a guy who scored or assisted every 3 games, was it?
I kind of think one name that might have a little term, if he plays really well, is Samuel Umtiti. Umtiti has had a surprisingly good season. I think there was a statistic earlier in the season when Umtiti played, they didn't lose. I think it was a big run they'd gone on when Umtiti played, they hadn't lost a game. He could be a fantastic centre-back. He's got PK alongside him. He's taken up the buck really well this season because I don't think people expected him to be as good as he is when he came in from Lyon. So if Barcelona got anyone to rely on and Umtiti keeps a clean sheet, I think Umtiti could be
one of the best ball-playing centre-backs in world football.
I was just about to say he's really brave on the ball. I saw a stat this morning on Twitter where he's played the most passes for Barcelona in the Champions League.
That's insane.
Wow. So he's really kind of grasped that the kind of philosophy of Barcelona, hasn't he? I mean, obviously he hasn't scored a lot of goals in the league, but he's been in an incredible vein of form recently, so you can never discount him. Iniesta on his day, he's looked tired this season, he's looked jaded, he's not been given a long enough break, I don't think. I can see Madrid winning this one.
I can see Madrid winning
quite comfortably.
I think it's possibly a downside in Barcelona's front 3, the fact they're so nailed on. It doesn't give the likes of Denis Suarez a chance in that forward position.
But my biggest problem is I don't think you can rely on him. If you take Neymar, it's not as if you're taking an average player and replacing him. You're taking out the 3 best forwards in world football and replacing him with 3 incredibly mediocre forwards in Paco Alcácer and Co. I just don't think. Let's say if they'd have bought in somebody like Dybala last summer and he was the bloke who could come in, you'd be like, he's rotation. But without that, with such a big gaping gap between the top and the next players, I just don't think it's possible to do it.
Suarez, he wasn't brought in to add attacking prowess necessarily. Like if he was going to get a game, it'd be instead of Sergio Roberto. You know, when they play that diamond and Sergio Roberto and Iniesta on the wings, you think that's a very narrow side and they can be got at down the wings, which is what Cuadrado did over the 2 ties against Barca. He really got at the likes of Mathieu and whoever was playing, left back in the second leg. So I think they've got vulnerabilities, but I'd like to see them turn it around, make the title running more interesting.
Let's have a little quick score prediction from us 3 then from the weekend's games. I'm going to go 2-1 Madrid.
Okay, where is it?
I think it's at Madrid.
At Madrid, I believe.
All right. In that case, Barcelona have scored 3+ goals on average at home this season. So but it's away, so maybe, yeah, I'm going to 3-1.
3-1 Madrid.
I reckon I'm going to round it out, make it an absolute whitewash, 3-0.
3-0.
I reckon Isco's getting 2 and Ronaldo will pop up the other.
There you go, there's your scorecast. If you lose, let him know on Twitter. So
Don't.
Martin HD has the next question, and it's very
High def.
topical. He says, who is going to win, who is going to win the PFA, and do you agree with the nominations? The nominations are as follows: Kante, Hazard, Sanchez, Zlatan, Lukaku, Harry Kane. Dele Alli missed out, but he is nominated for the young player, probably likely to win that, since he's got 16 goals and 6 assists in 29 games.
yeah,
But
why is he being disregarded for the proper one?
yeah, it's madness.
Stupid. But anyway, yeah, go on.
Let's focus on the main one though. For me, Harry Kane. For me, Harry Kane.
Not for me.
Another 20-goal season, propelling Tottenham forward constantly. Tottenham's probably going to finish above Arsenal now. We can pretty much guarantee. I think at this stage they're 17 points clear. Harry Kane is the fulcrum of that team. He is the main man in that team. Third 20-goal season. Third 20-goal season in a row. Wayne Rooney's only done it twice. Very few strikers do it more than 3 times. And Harry Kane's still only, 23, 24 years old? It's incredible.
Yeah.
The man has to win the PFA. The other names on this list, Sanchez has gone missing in parts. Hazard, exciting, don't get me wrong. Zlatan has missed a host of chances, possibly enough to cost us top 4. And the other name, Kante. I suppose you could argue Kante, but I think there's better players in that Chelsea team than Kante.
I disagree.
Go on,
I
Alex,
think Kante should win the award.
Yeah?
Because you look at the Chelsea team last season, they were absolutely out of it. Kante, obviously Conte's come in, but Kante's come into Conte's system, and he's been the main man who's been able to make it work. I think that he doesn't get enough credit for the attacking work he does as well. So he does a lot of his work defensively,
He has really
but it's
added
the
to
way
his
he
game this
transitions
year.
forward.
Yeah.
He
He
moves the
transitions
Chelsea
well.
forward in that transition. He's really fast on the counter. And to be honest, there's no better player in the world, I think, at what he does than Kante.
I'd take Archer over Dal over him. Every day
The
of the
head
weekend,
case.
Sundays.
Yeah, rate with that.
I think Kante's a great footballer, don't get me wrong, particularly defensively, but I still think he's extremely limited.
I mean, I think
that's the reason that Real Madrid didn't sign him in the summer, when they probably should have. I'd take him over Casemiro, but he just doesn't add enough to me to win the PFA Player of the Year. I think you've got to have more than what Kante's adding to that team.
I think Herrera's performed a similar job for Man United
Yeah,
that
absolutely
Kante has
about.
for Chelsea, and yeah, they're not talked about in the same breath for
But
some
then
reason.
Chelsea
which is,
are top and United are 6, so that's probably why.
yeah, probably. But I mean, you talk about, who did you go for? Kane. I think Tottenham have shown they can cope without Harry Kane. Son's come in,
Exactly.
he's done well. One man who their team cannot function without is Romelu Lukaku. He has spearheaded that Everton side to within touching distance of Europa League football. I mean, they're contesting with Man United at the minute for that 5th, 6th position. I know they've played a couple games more. But Romelu Lukaku, again, over 20 goals, in top 5 in terms of Premier League goals under the age of 23. The guy is dragging that very average Everton side, as we say, into Europe. Koeman, when he first came in, his football at Everton was very functional. They were pumping it long to him. Got rid of the likes of Delafeu, who's been linked with a move back to Barcelona, who we know partnered up very well with Lukaku last season. I'm sure Lukaku was livid to see a player of Delafeu's class leave. I just think, without him, mate, I think players elsewhere, maybe Sanchez. Arsenal would have struggled big time without Sanchez, weren't they? And he's in double figures in terms of goals and assists. But I'd put forward Lukaku for my nomination in this.
I would say that was such a good
context.
argument.
If you're going with
convinced
Kane,
me.
if you're going with Kane,
I can't look past him. He's got everything, Harry Kane.
yes,
I think
he's a don.
I think he only beats Lukaku on the basis that he scored more goals. That's it. That's what it comes down to for me.
Simple.
Simple. Next question comes from Anders Hui Wisniewski. Definitely pronounced that wrong. He said, who do you think is the best non-European player of all time in the Premier League? Now, there are some names on this list. For me, it's a bit of a left field one. I'm going Yaya. I think Yaya Toure
Not that left field.
had absolutely everything. The guy could defend well, he could transition well, and he scored so many goals. That one season when he got 20 goals from midfield was madness. This is a guy who took Man City to completely next level positions. He effectively won them that title, their first one, with his goals. And then you think about the moments that he scores goals. They're always in big games. He always sees off little teams, puts in. He's not what he once was now. It's a shame that his attitude and his energy is so down. But in his prime, Yaya Toure was the best foreign player the Premier League's ever seen, I think.
The goals in the League Cup final as well against Stoke. Winning that League Cup final, I think people underestimate the impact that had on Manchester City. Just winning some silverware. He was a big focal point of that team that season as well. I would go for, if you're looking for longevity, if you're looking for consistency, you know, Suarez is there. What a talent.
Yeah, what a player.
But 3 years at Liverpool, 69 goals, 70 goals maybe. Didier Drogba, 104 goals. Dwight York, mate. 123 goals.
Incredible talent.
What a guy. What about you, Alex?
Well, I'm torn between two City players, and they're both Argentinian, they're both strikers. I would either go for Tevez or Aguero. I'm going to say Aguero. Aguero, absolute main man. Tevez deserves to be in the conversation, but I don't think
if he wasn't such a snake and his attitude wasn't so shit.
Well, this is a Man United fan.
Tevez. Oh, I'm off golfing.
Disneyland. What?
I would say Aguero, though, because he scored 119 goals over 6 years. That's about 20 goals a season. And you think about the fact that he's actually had a mad time with injuries. Whenever he seems to be getting on a bit of a run, he gets troubled with injuries, and then he can't really get back into the side and go for the top goal scorer. And also, the best stat for me is his goals to minutes ratio. He's got the best in Premier League history. He scores, I think he scored 100 goals in 150 games, and that's an incredible stat.
Yeah,
he's above the likes of Adam Lafondra in that stat. So
I think Aguero,
Reading fan, so give him grief in the comments below.
I think one problem with Aguero being the greatest non-European is I feel like he's a little bit of a purple patch player, in that he'll go through runs of scoring 10 goals in 4 games, and then he'll go silent for about 3 games. I think that's potentially what's cost City more titles, is both that and his injuries. I think his injuries play a big part in that purple patch mentality. But I don't know, if you were to give me Suarez and you were to give me Aguero, I'd take Suarez every day of the week, I think, over Aguero. I don't know why.
But is that not because of the injuries?
No, I don't think it is. I think if you could give me the two players, I think Suarez is more complete footballer. I think Aguero is an absolute poacher, as much of a poacher as you'll ever get.
Suarez,
I think Suarez
is more flexible, definitely.
So I would take Suarez over even Aguero, but even both of those.
I think I would, but I think you're being particularly harsh on him there.
Well, don't get me wrong, he's by far one of the best strikers the Premier League's ever seen.
But I mean, strikers score in patches, don't they? They have runs of form. I don't think that would discount him, in my opinion, from being considered as one of the best non-European players of all time. I agree. I think he's got to be top 3. Got to be top 3.
Top 3, okay. Rima G has the next question. He says, who is the best Balkan player of all time? If you don't know what Balkan means, Google it. I thought it was Bolton originally, so I had Ivan Campo down here, but it's Balkan. Some countries included: Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia. You get the idea. It's basically Eastern Europe and a bit of Asia. Chris Hamill, who are you throwing in the hat?
Oh, mate. Well, there's some superb players obviously come out of that part of the world. You look at Stoichkov. You look at Luka Modric now in modern terms. I've always been a massive fan of Dario Serna as well. What a consistent career he is. A consistently excellent one for Shakhtar.
He never had the bottle to go onto a major European stage.
I mean, he's performed extremely well for Croatia though at the big tournaments.
Definitely, but why did he not join Barcelona when he had the chance?
Are you going to criticise him for being a one club man?
I am, because it's a one club man
Tells
in
you
a country
you need to know about this.
Not
unloyal pig
of a high enough calibre.
If he wants to be the best Balkan player of all time, then he needs to move on to Barcelona.
It's just in the hat. It's just in the hat. I'd put maybe Stoichkov forward. You could go with your boy Nemanja Vidic.
Nemanja?
That's not a bad shout, to be fair.
Not for me.
I mean, for his position, you can't.
Georgi Hagi?
It's hard to overlook the attacking players. Yeah, the Romanian, Georgi Hagi.
But for me, I'm really torn between 2 players. They're 2 Gail Platt lookalikes, and it's Nedved and Modric. But I'm going to go Modric. I know that Nedved won the Ballon d'Or, and he did it with Juventus when he shouldn't have done it. Consistent player, but Modric, every time I watch him, he looks like the best player on the pitch. I know he's been in teams with Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale, and he still looks better than them. He's incredible. He's probably in the top 3 midfielders in the world right now, if not the best. What a player.
What a rise to the top as well. Had to do it the hard way, was playing amidst, warring circumstances. But yeah, what about you, mate?
To be honest, I had Modric prepped. And I know it's nice to say different players, but the fact that we're both agreeing on Modric in this is just shows the man's quality. Zidane came out just this week, actually, and just praised him. Basically said he's the man that keeps Real Madrid ticking. You've got the likes of Ronaldo in that team. They're the superstars. But what Modric does is just absolutely fantastic for Madrid.
So gutted United never signed Modric to win the chance. So gutted he went to Madrid. But he would have probably gone there anyway. If they want you doing keepy-ups at the Bernabeu, you do keepy-ups at the Bernabeu.
A fucking snippet, 30 million as well.
Absolutely.
What a signing.
Final question comes from Bernardo Neves. Now, it's an interesting one because we've just been talking about Barcelona's fragilities. Wonder whether Real Madrid have some as well. But he says, who will be playing in the El Clasico next year who's not this year? Now, Barca have holes. Real might have a few holes as well. Who's going to be there next year, lads? Take it away.
Go on, Alex, mate.
I think Eden Hazard. Purely because Zidane's he's been very public in his praise for Hazard. We all know that he wants to sign him at some point. And I reckon this could be the year. You look at Ronaldo, he's always had that left wing position on lockdown. But I reckon at the latter stages of his career, he moves centrally, takes up that role that Benzema's been great, but he's not been that elite level of striker that Ronaldo could potentially be if he played there, which leaves that vacant left wing spot for Hazard to come in and be that world-class player.
The French connection, what a tasty front three that'd be.
You, Hams.
I agree, mate. Yeah, I think Ronaldo, he's taking people on less and less. He's completing less dribbles per game. So moving central is probably where he'll finish his Madrid career. But if we're going to talk about Barcelona, I mean, we touched upon it last question. I think they need. I mean, if you start from the back going forward, is Ter Stegen good enough in the long run? I mean, he's conceded an awful lot more goals than the likes of Claudio Bravo did last year. Valdez, he's not got that same aura that Valdez has.
Yeah.
But I think the obvious one is a centre mid. I think Iniesta is ageing. They need someone who can move the ball through midfield, and Andre Gomez is not necessarily that guy. He completes less tackles than Sergio Busquets, who's looked a little bit rusty this year.
Yeah, not at his best
Rusty
season.
than previous seasons. Again, another player who's had no rest, and he doesn't complete as many dribbles as Iniesta. So I'm not sure if Andre Gomez is the answer. Do they need another centre mid? He obviously costs £50 million. I mean, they're pretty set up front, are they? So I'd go with a right back. They need to solve that Dani Alves situation, and right back and a centre mid. I have no answers in terms of right back. Can you two think of that?
I was thinking for a right back. This is weird, and it won't ever happen purely for the fact he won't move to
say
Spain.
Kyle Walker.
I was going to say Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
You won't find a player who can play in that system better than Kyle Walker. I reckon if he could move to Barcelona, if he would move to Barcelona, he'd be fantastic.
Walker's biggest problem is that Ter Stegen always distributes to fullbacks, and I think the ball will get stuck at Walker a lot. As soon as you give it to the right back, he needs to shift it in and then come back and drop again, shift another pass. I think he's great at full speed, playing pure instinct. But on the ball, time on the ball, in Spain, slow again, I'm not sure he's good.
In Potter's system, you see Walker's average position.
Yeah.
It's the same as the midfield. Him and Rose are fucking up there.
I'm
But
not
that's
sure
like Dani Alves. They're looking to replace Dani
But
Alves.
he could do that because he was so good on the ball, he could move it about. I don't think Walker is. In my opinion, the player that will be playing in the El Clasico next season, that's not now, is David De Gea. I think David De Gea will join Real Madrid this summer. As gutted and heart-wrenching it is as a United fan, he's an unbelievable goalkeeper. I personally believe the best in the world ahead of Neuer. And I think he'll be in a Madrid shirt next season. If it's not him, I think Barca need to improve up front as well. I know that they've got the three best forwards in world football.
143 goals this year, mate.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, but there's no depth behind them. Like we've just talked about, when someone's off form, they're in big trouble. That's part of the reason that they're not up towards the top of the league. Centre mids struggling. I don't think there's any available ones that you can really just pluck and go,
Of that level.
We'll have him.
Maybe someone from Monaco.
We'll have him. Yeah,
Bernardo Silva.
Bakayoko.
Maybe I don't think Bakayoko's a
Player
player
that level just yet.
that would fit Barcelona either. I think you could say it. I'm getting absolutely bashed for this, but I reckon Anthony Martial would be
Scott Brown.
I think Anthony Martial would be a great
Martial.
fit for Barcelona. I think he would be available. I think big enough offer would tempt Mourinho at this stage. I think he's young, he's talented, he's got growth that Paco Alcacer definitely doesn't have. I don't think Paco Alcacer has got anywhere near as high a ceiling as Anthony Martial. Great on the ball, exciting to watch, dynamic, and would probably play a backup role in that position.
If you're looking for backup, why don't they just bring Munir back? He's got, 9 goals, 6 assists or something ridiculous for Valencia since he went on loan. He's a perfect backup option. He's young, he can score goals in La Liga, he's cost effective.
But again, he's not that level. Because the problem, like Real Madrid, for example, they've got Isco, Rodriguez sitting on the bench often.
Yeah.
And like they're still elite level players, but then Barcelona don't have that. But then Munir's not.
I'm
that
desperately
elite
trying
level.
to think of like a ball-playing central midfielder that you could take from somebody like
Tolisso?
Tolisso
from Lyon.
From Lyon. I was just about to suggest, what about something like Koke? Do you think they could tempt him away from Atleti? Because if they could, he'd be so good for either of those teams.
He's quite, despite he's on a decent run of form in terms of goal scoring recently, isn't he? I think he's got 2, 3 and 6, but surely he'd play in the same position as Sergio Busquets. I know he's a bit more all action than Busquets, but...
True.
I don't know. It's
true. It's a hard one.
How do you solve a problem like centre mid?
We basically can't make a decision here, but I'm going to go for David De Gea anyway. But what do you guys think at home? Let us know who's going to be playing in the El Clasico next season. That's not this season. Got that out eventually.
Mouthful.
So that's all we've got time for today, sadly enough. But thanks so much for all of your questions. If you want to be involved next week, bang them in the comments right now with the hashtag Sunday Vibes. Cheers, Hamill, for coming on, mate. No worries at all. Alex,
freckly mitts off.
What are they doing next, mate? What should people at home do next?
I reckon Spanish football all day on a Sunday. After you've watched Sunday Vibes, I always watch loads of football. So you've got 2 Spanish games, and then you've, of course, got the El Clasico as well. So it's going to be a great day.
On Sky Sports.
Live on Sky Sports. It's live. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.